Today I'm talking to Janani Ramachandran, the Oakland City Council member and lifelong East Bay resident. She is the youngest person ever elected to Oakland City Council and also the first South Asian and first LGBTQ woman of color to serve. Since being elected, she's focused on bringing more transparency and accountability to the local government and also making sure that Oakland thrives as a city that people celebrate for its culture. So this was a really great conversation. We talked about her path into politics, what she envisions for Oakland's future, and what advice she has for young people who want to lead, even when people tell them that they're crazy for trying. This was an amazing recording session, amazing conversation. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for coming on and having a conversation with me. I
Yeah,
guess to start things off, could you tell me more about where you grew up, what keeps you busy, and like the most exciting thing about the work you do?
absolutely. I'm born and raised in the East Bay. I am an Oakland City Council member. I'm super excited about what I do. I think being a council member is an incredibly exciting job with a lot of responsibilities to shape the course of local government. It's an extremely difficult job, and you have to have a very thick skin and really be prepared to put your whole life on public display all the time. But I think it's very rewarding when it comes to fulfilling the things that I want to do, which is make a difference for my communities.
That sounds nice. Yeah. I guess do you have like a formative memory from your upbringing that maybe shaped your sense of identity as an Indian American and sort of like influenced your career?
Yeah, well, I actually moved to India when I was in middle school. So I lived there for about 5 years in middle school and high school. And honestly, I think that I moved there during the Bush administration, which, I was a somewhat sheltered preteen living in America until then in the Bay. And then moving to India kind of broadened my perspective on international relations and how America was viewed, and especially under the Bush era, you know, perhaps not as bad as things are under Trump right now, but at the time, there was a lot of anti Americanism. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a whole new perspective on, how the world views this country that I'm from. And it really opened my eyes up to thinking about government and what are the things that we do that lack nuance and that we need to be more mindful of and have a less of a sense of exceptionalism. Um, I was very interested in learning more about that India's own form of government. I moved to a city called Bangalore, which was kind of during their own tech boom, and it was very interesting to see, India's own Silicon Valley's rise and both the pros and the cons of yes, lots of jobs being creative, but similar to the issues that we have right here in the East Bay, people being displaced and cultural roots, being lost and a whole lot of things that really shaped my interest in wanting to be a part of government one day. When I was 16, I actually started a nonprofit in India called Operation Education. And we set up a rotating library system because there are almost no free public libraries in India, and to kind of give kids a sense of um, the joys of reading, an opportunity to practice English, read books, expand their sense of creativity, which is not really present in a lot of under-resourced schools over there. And, that taught me a lot about how to run an organization, leadership skills, raising money, all of these things that certainly influence my life in politics today.
Yeah. So I guess were there any specific like values that maybe influence the way that you approach like public service and leadership now?
Yeah, first and foremost is always accountability to the public and transparency. A lot of again, I wasn't involved in government until I ran for office. I always thought, well, one day maybe I'd be interested and I'm curious about government and I studied political science and international relations, but one thing that was always frustrating, but I was really I never had an insider perspective till I ran for office, my first race was just about 4 years ago. um, One of the things that frustrated me and continues to frustrate me is a lack of transparency of how there always seems as though information is hidden, things aren't clear. So the most important value is that a sense of transparency to the public. And, whether or not you agree with the way I vote on something, I'm going to be very clear as to what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, with the hope that people can come on board with understanding, but also, knowing that when we may not agree always on things, we need to be clear about why we do what we do. And to me, that is transparency.
Yeah, no, yeah, I completely agree. I guess like how was that process? Like how would you describe that sort of like process 4 years ago when you did run for office? Like what were kind of like the steps and logistics towards like becoming a council member?
Yeah, well, that was a crazy race. So in early 2021, which was still during the pandemic, I decided to run for California State Assembly because there was a vacancy. The man who's now our Attorney General, Rob Bonta, he had got appointed to being Attorney General by Governor Newsom. So that left a vacancy in this assembly district, which covers a lot of Oakland and a couple of nearby cities. People thought I was absolutely crazy for throwing my hat in the ring. Just the year before, graduated law school. I had zero political connections. I didn't, have big political donors. People would actively discourage me from running in that first race. They're like, "Are you crazy? This is a first time race." Everyone else, there were 8 candidates in the primary. Everyone else said, you should back out because everyone else here is an elected official that's already running, including the wife of Rob Bonta, who just vacated the seat. And the role of attorney general really is the second most powerful role in the state of California, second to the governor. So they're like, "You're crazy for going against the state AG's wife." And long story short, I kind of surprised everyone. I made it into the top two out of the 8 candidates that ran. And then I got really darn close, considering I was outspent by $2 million. I still got about 43% of the vote, which to me is super exciting. And that's one of the reasons I decided to stay motivated to stay in politics. I'm like, here I am, a political newbie, but with a real deep desire to connect with people in an authentic way. And I think that's what people were excited about, not having a politician that says the same old, and does the same old, but kind of breaks that mold. And I'm really proud in my first ever race that we were able to do that.
No,
So,
yeah.
so a couple of days after I did not win that election, I decided to run for this council seat, and then just the next year, and then we won with 70% of the vote, which was exciting.
No, yeah, that's great. And like sort of with that new perspective and that new jump into politics, and as someone who's like also grown up in the East Bay, how would you sort of describe like in terms of Oakland's future, what a truly thriving city would look like to you? And like how do your perspectives sort of like shape that vision for Oakland
Yeah.
as a council member?
Well, firstly, I'm the youngest person ever elected to Oakland City Council, but I shouldn't be. I was 30 when I was elected, and that's not very young. I want to see an Oakland where we have actual young people running for political office and winning. I was also the first South Asian to ever be elected to Oakland City Council, the first LGBTQ woman of color. And, it's like, I don't want to be all these first. I want to see a more representative council. And I do see some of that starting to change. I do hope that we have more young, diverse, et cetera, people who continue to think about careers in government, whether that's running for office or working on political campaigns or working in the staff of political offices. And I think that that's going to help shape what Oakland politics is and how it can serve the everyday person. We want a safe city. We want a city that can economically rebound, and we want more sports teams. We want more concerts. We want people coming to Oakland for all the good reasons. We don't want to be in the news for all the negative stuff. We want people to see how beautiful Oakland is and celebrate it. I mean, we have everything from an incredible urban redwood forest to the lake to, a vibrant downtown nightlife. We have award-winning restaurants. We have such a great, art scene, and I want that to keep flourishing. And, I've been a performing artist since I was 5 years old, and that's one of the identities that I bring to this work of wanting to see arts and culture really genuinely thrive.
Yeah, I think that arts and culture part of Oakland's definitely understated when people talk about it, as in like people will often describe Oakland as like dangerous or like not a good city when it is really a really nice place. It
Mhm.
definitely has the potential to be super, super great. I guess like more on that part about like being the first of a lot of things. What advice would you give to like young South Asian Americans who want to step in to like these roles of leadership, but don't see a lot of people that look like them, sort of like up on the stage?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to take a risk and you have to be okay with, people sometimes thinking you're nuts for wanting to do something. Every time that people in my first election told me, no, you shouldn't do it, that really motivated me to want to run for office more. And I think that if you're going to have a very public facing career, you're going to have to take some risks and be comfortable with people being naysayers and haters and saying mean things on the internet, but that's a part of the job. And you do this work because you want to, and you grow.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's great advice. I guess like looking back on sort of like your college and law school experience, when did you really know that like you wanted to have a role in politics and you wanted to like be a leader?
Only when I ran for office. I was, again, about a year after graduating, no, less than a year after graduating law school, maybe 9 months after graduating law school, I decided to run for state assembly. And that was just about the time I was thinking about it. It was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I worked for a nonprofit at the time. I loved doing legal aid work, but I realized in that moment in the pandemic, I wanted to write laws, not, you know, uh, work with them as a lawyer, which I'm very glad for my legal training and background. That helps me a lot in the day to day and provide a different perspective and not be taken advantage of in many ways. But I didn't want to practice law. I wanted to write them.
Yeah. No, yeah, that definitely sounds good. Um, I guess like if you could go back and give your younger self like one piece of advice before stepping into the race, what would it be?
Hmm. Log off of Twitter.
Mm,
Don't
yeah.
don't 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 go too deep into social media. I mean, I think social media is a great tool to use this and spread the word about what you're doing. And I use mine a lot at Janani for Oakland. And I think that it's a great way to share information, but you can't spend hours and hours reading what people say about you or conspiracy theories or whatever. You just got to put content out there to showcase what you're doing for the communities and then go live your life. Log off and live your life.
No, yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I guess like more on that part of using social media to like forward messages. Would you say that that's like the best platform for politicians to like get out what they want to say, or do you think like there should be another forum for
I think
politicians to like express things?
I think you got to do everything. There's for Oakland, I think one of the only local electeds on TikTok, for example, and I think it's a great tool, but you can't speak like a politician at all times. You have to speak the language of people who don't know about City Hall or who don't care about City Hall to give them little tidbits of useful information. I think that's something that I've learned working with my communications team of you can't just report out what happened in a council meeting as if you're expecting you're talking to people who already pay very close attention to politics. You have to give bite-sized information that people are interested. You got to get people interested.
Like
It's
TLDR, like yeah.
mhm. Yeah. It's like it's not people's job to go spend time out of their busy days to go attend a council meeting. You have to make this stuff interesting to the people if you want engagement.
Yeah, so I guess more on that, how do you stay connected to like maybe some of the more like grassroots concerns of your constituents while also like doing a lot of policy work?
Yeah, I mean, I'm outside a lot. I go to every event that I can. I go, you know, I proudly live in Oakland, so I go to the restaurants. I participate in nightlife. I'm an artist, so I go to a lot of music events, for example. Like I'm outside quite a bit, so I'm talking to people all the time. There's some
Yeah,
politicians who are like, "Oh yeah, I'm afraid of people coming up to me and complaining or harassing or whatever. So I do all my shopping in Orinda, or I go to Walnut Creek right after. And it's like, that's not to me. I'm like, yeah, sure. Sometimes there's annoying people who want to harass you
Then
in
it's
front
like
of a
they
big
elect
data.
people elected you. You need to like, yeah.
Yeah, it helps you to stay in touch with people, and of course you set boundaries, which I do. But it's I got to enjoy the city that I'm representing too.
Yeah. And I guess sort of like to sort of wrap things up, I guess like you mentioned performing arts and like culture as like kind of like an integral part of Oakland. I guess like how do you envision that being more highlighted in terms of like how people think about Oakland and how people conceptualize it? I
Yeah,
guess,
I mean,
yeah.
people have to come here to we want to attract people here for all the good stuff. So, for example, I just founded it. So, I've been throwing Oakland Diwali for the last 2 years, and this year, I've set up a completely standalone nonprofit, to host Oakland Diwali and other South Asian cultural events. I was trained as a classical Indian music singer, Carnatic music singer, and been involved in various forms of South Asian arts, and I think that and I'm super excited to use Oakland Diwali as a way to attract people to Oakland. In the last 2 years, I hosted the event. We had over 500 people come from all over. When I walked into the room, I'm like, who are these people? I don't know how people found out about this, but I'm like, where are you from? They're like, I'm from San Leandro. I'm from Burlingame. I'm from Marin. I'm like, wow, I don't know how you got here to Oakland, but I'm really glad you did, because now you get to see some amazing Oakland talent performing on our stage, get to eat from local restaurants. Like, there was so much, cool stuff to celebrate, that I want more stuff like that. Um, and definitely people should come to Oakland Diwali, shameless plug, on October 24th. Um, and attend more things, more. We should have more cultural events and it's free, and that are free and free, family friendly, and accessible to the public. And that's the kind of thing that I'm helping curate as well.
No, yeah, that sounds really fun. Thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation with me.
Absolutely.